Okay, hello, welcome to How to Write a History Essay. We're going to cover DBQs today. So I'm going to start with how to analyze a document. I was going to go through a whole DBQ, but I did not have enough time. So let's just go through this document, and then I'm going to show you a couple political cartoons and how to analyze them. So this DBQ I took this from was about imperialism. So we're going to talk about how imperialism is portrayed in this document, what we can gather about why this person's opinion is what it is. So the source is E. Cooper, an African American editor of the Washington, D.C. paper Colored American from 1898. So the first little quote here is, "The war with Spain will result in a quickened sense of our duty toward one another and a loftier conception of the obligations of government to its humblest citizens." April 30th. Black participation in the war will bring about an era of good feeling the country over and cement the races into a more compact brotherhood through perfect unity of purpose and patriotic affinity, where white people will unloose themselves from the bondage of racial prejudice. So, what can we say about this document? Oh no. Let's just look at when it was written and who it was written by. So this was 1898, I think, and it was written by E. Cooper, who was black. Why is it important that he was black and the time is what it was? So just 20 years ago, the Civil War ended. So we still have Jim Crow laws, prejudice in the North, job discrimination, what have you. It's important to look at your authors because different people will have different opinions, obviously, and sometimes they even fall, on political party basis, or on this one it could be a racial basis. Since he's black, he probably has experienced things completely different than what a white person at this time had experienced, and faces many different problems. So let's get into the document. The war with Spain will result in a quickened sense of duty toward one another and a loftier conception of obligations of government to its humblest citizens. So I think what he's trying to say here is, let's just take a look at this area right here. A loftier conception of obligations of government to its humblest citizens. So, because there is a war, the government will feel more obligated to its humblest citizens, which would probably be black people at that time. So he's saying if we go to war with Spain, which it's important to note that Spain was a monarchy. And America is obviously in support of democracy. So I think what he's trying to say here is we'll see how poorly Spain is treating another country, or how poor Spain's government is, and Americans will feel obliged or closer to one another, and because of this closeness, the government will feel like it should do more for its humblest citizens. So let's read through the actual quote again and make sure that makes sense. The war with Spain will result in a quickened sense of duty toward one another and a loftier conception of obligations of government to its humblest citizens. So, war will make citizens feel closer together and want the government because they fought alongside each other. I think this is important, that fighting with each other would strengthen the bond between one another. And he gets into more of that in the later part of the quote. Saw failure in Spain's democracy. Even though he doesn't say anything about Spain's, I meant to write monarchy there, Spain's monarchy, I think this is kind of implied. Kind of a big theme of democracy is togetherness, brotherhood, community, and I think we can kind of imply or relate the source back to how imperialism was sort of a battle between monarchies and the US democracy with the Monroe Doctrine. So when you read through these, keep in mind other things that were happening around the world and things that you can relate your document back to. All right. April 30th. Black participation in the war will bring about an era of good feeling the country over and cement the races into a more compact brotherhood and perfect unity of purpose and patriotic affinity, where white people will unloose themselves from bondage of racial prejudice. So basically he's saying there, because black people fought in the war, white people will stop treating them with a prejudice. Whoops, so in the name of patriarchy, in the name of patriotism. I almost said patriarchy there. And let's see if there's a few more words here that I really think kind of go with how he's talking about democracy here, especially perfect unity and era of good feeling. These are words that really relate back to democracy and its importance. And I think it's interesting that he supports the war because it will unite the races. So that's pretty much how you analyze a document. You want to go through, pick out the key terms, relate them to other things that are going on, and just try and understand what the author is really saying here. It's usually not about the actual words, but more the intent or the impact that they're trying to make. So let's look at a few political cartoons, which I think are kind of fun, but sometimes kind of difficult to analyze. Actually, we'll do that in our next segment. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.